Well, hello and welcome to our weekly look at Tiffin University football, Dragon Football Weekly. Hi, everybody. I'm Russ Snyder, voice of the Dragons. To my right, head coach, Mr. Brett Ekkens. Coach, how are we doing today, buddy?
Doing well. Excited to talk about this week and getting ready for the Findlay Oilers.
Probably don't have to say a whole lot to the kids at the start of the week on rivalry week, do you?
No, not too much. It's an important one, for both teams, and I think location dictates that a little bit, but it's also two passionate sports communities.
Absolutely. The Dragons on the road this weekend to take on Findlay, the rivalry game, the final game of the regular season. Findlay still undefeated, sitting number 2 in the region after a big win for them against Ashland, and they got a lot to play for, and there's a whole lot of reasons that the Dragons want to kind of settle down their momentum a little bit out there on the football field on Saturday.
Yeah, it's always about us. We always make the things that motivate us internal, and but yeah, we're fired up for this week and the opportunity to go out and became a trophy game a year ago, and it's something that it's going to matter no matter what the circumstance is. It's going to matter every single year, and I know they're saying the same thing. They're
right.
10-0. They've done a great job this year. But I know that this one's important to them too. We're going to get their best shot.
Yeah, I saw the trophy sitting out there in the lobby as we were getting ready to record the program this week, and it's always a lot of fun, no matter what the sport, when Tiffin and Findlay gets together, just because of the proximity. Like I said, I think it's 27 miles from corporation limit to corporation limit. It doesn't matter if it's volleyball, football, doesn't really matter. Just Dragons and Oilers getting together on the football field. It's going to be passionate. It's going to be high intensity, and it's going to be a lot of fun for not only the players, you guys, and the fans as well.
Absolutely. The kids are fired up, and so are the coaches. We're really excited. Over
the last 6 matchups, the Dragons are 4-2 against the Findlay Oilers, getting 2 in a row. And last year the Dragons got them at home. This year we go back over to Findlay, and as I said, Findlay 10-0, 8-0 in conference. The Dragons coming off a tough overtime loss up at Northwood last week. But Coach, we won't talk a whole lot about the games. We won't concentrate on Findlay, but we will just say, your kids got down early, but man, they battled back and took the lead late against a football team where you guys are very comparable, very close football teams, but you got to admire the way your kids battled back in that football game.
Yeah, I was excited that they battled like they did. We've got to stop spotting teams' points.
That makes it hard.
That's part of the thing that we need to do, and the kids, our guys compete incredibly hard, and there was at no point where was there worry on the sideline or anything like that. We had put ourselves in that hole, and we dug ourselves out and took the lead, and needed to finish there, and we didn't. So kudos to Coach Buer and his team. But at the end of the day, our guys are fighters, and we've had a couple of games that have been really tight in margin, 2 overtime losses that have been brutal. But we're focused on the fact that we believe that we're a very good team, and we're focused on this last game.
I'll tell you guys had to be exhausted, because I was exhausted after that game. What a fun game to be a part of. I guess not for you especially, but as far as a fan standpoint, watching the game, just big play after big play. If you were an innocent bystander, you just pulled up a football game to watch. The entertainment value is off the charts for you. But that's enough about that. Let's move on to the Findlay Oilers. As we said, this coming weekend, Findlay's in first place in the conference. The Dragons sitting in 4th, Findlay and Ashland. Both of them are still in the rankings. Really good chance for both those schools to make the tournament, which would be a good thing for the conference to get a couple teams in there. But Dragons will be over there against Findlay this coming Saturday. Scoring offense, the Dragons first, Findlay 4th. You look at the offensive numbers across the conference, Coach, and both of the teams are basically in the top 5 in every single statistical category.
Yeah, it's been a good year offensively, and Coach Blair and our offensive staff do a great job putting together the game plan each week. Our players are bought into it, and we're going to need to go out and be efficient, and we're going to need to go out and have a good day on offense. We know that.
Yeah, a game like this, we talk a lot about the line of scrimmage, but a game like this, especially important to control that line of scrimmage. Your offensive line has been pretty together all year long. We talked about it last week or the week before about working some more guys in, but your starting lineup's been pretty consistent. It's been good to have that consistency out there. You got to expect a lot out of your kids this coming Saturday if you're going to win this football game.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. Games at this time of year specifically are won and lost up front on the line of scrimmage, and we know that they're going to have a very good offensive and defensive line as well. So one of the challenges each week is making sure that our line of scrimmage guys know, our offensive and defensive linemen know how important they are, and they do. We've worked really hard to have great standards in both of those rooms, and the guys are excited for the game for sure.
And then you talk about the backfield. Being able to run the football against a good quality football team pays big dividends for you as well. And your running backs have been very productive all year. And it hasn't just been one guy. Ronald gets most of the headlines, but guys like Tyrese, Daniel Williams getting in the mix, and other guys have really stepped up for you. And you're really going to lead on that running game. Those guys, I'm sure, are ready for it.
Yeah, absolutely. absolutely. Every game is the mindset starts with you've got to be able to run the football and then stop and defeat the run. So we always start with that in mind, and our goals is to be balanced each week, and we've statistically been a bit better through the air, but that's. If you look at attempts, we're very balanced in our approach, and at the end of the day, as a coach, you've got to figure out what is the defense giving you and what opportunities do you have. So that's dictated it a little bit, but I'll tell you what, our running backs and our offensive line and tight ends, our receivers block their tails off, but the whole group in the run game has been important all year.
Finley's got a good quality running back as well. Jaden Farmer, both him and Ronald in the top 5 in the conference running the football.
Yeah, Finley's got a couple of good running backs. They've done a great job. They'll pound the rock, and physical downhill runners that can certainly make you pay if you misfit. So we know that defensively, it's been a week where we've studied a lot of film and putting together a great game plan. And again, everything starts with making sure that you're gapped out and that you have every position on the field accounted for.
You mentioned the wide receiving core. We can't mention them without mentioning your tight end, Joey Zalewski. This continues to have a great season for you this year. Not only catching the football, being productive with the yards after the catch, but what he does with the work on the offensive line and blocking for the running game too.
Yeah, Joey's taken a huge step in his ability to block from last year to this year, and some of the statistical components that he had from last year weren't as good. And going into last game, it was really, really exciting to see him take a couple touchdowns to the house, some long runs.
He looked faster than I thought he was on a couple of those. Yeah,
he's fast. So it was good to see that. And there's stuff in every game plan that's set aside for him. But he's been locked into his role, and he's done a great job blocking this year. So that's been great. And we know he's a great pass threat too. And
you have a couple tight ends you play as well. Alton, the other young man who gets out there on the field as well, he's done a nice job for you too.
Yeah, Cedric Anton's.
I always say it wrong.
Yeah, he's done a great job continuing to become more and more reliable each week. And last year he was with us, but he had a couple different injuries, and this year he's been able to stay healthy, and his role has increased, which has allowed us to be a bit more balanced in who's on the field, which has helped Joey maintain his ability to have a full gas tank.
In the wide receiving core, early in the year, it was Ethan Holbrook getting all the headlines, making the big plays. You think about that punt return, the effort to touchdown. But as the seasons wore on, Amari White seems to be taking more of a role and more of a confidence on that young man. As you see him really catching the ball with his hands, being strong with his hands, and he's really come forward for you this year.
Yeah, we've been able to get a lot of different people touches in every single game, and Amari's worked really hard. He had a great camp. Seems like it wasn't very long ago that we were in camp, but he had a great camp, and really his production throughout the year hasn't surprised any of us. But that room in general, we've got so many different guys that have different skill sets, and the reason that there's been a lot of different receivers that have had good games is because they've all been dependable. Yeah, they've all been dependable.
And then your quarterback Alex Johnson's been leading the conference in passing touchdowns and passing yards, and you've been able to get a couple guys into the mix and everything. But Alex being able to keep him healthy all year long and keep him out there just continues to rack up the numbers.
Yeah, it's important that we protect him well, and our offensive line's done a great job with that, and our running backs and tight ends when they've been called upon to protect. But Alex has got a unique skill set, and he's an elite competitor, and he's done a great job when the ball's in his hand. And ultimately, it's one of the toughest positions, probably the toughest position in sports.
Sure.
And he takes a lot of pride in what he does and prepares the right way. And he lives up in the office, and he's always coming by and asking for more meeting time. And he's a guy that really is focused on being at his best every week.
That's what you want out of your quarterback, right?
Absolutely.
Well, let's flip it to the other side of the football now. The defensive. Let's start with the defensive line. And for my money, this weekend, Dragons go win. And the biggest matchup is our defensive line against their offensive line, keeping them out of the end zone, keeping points off the board. In the defensive line, we mentioned the rotation between the tackles and the ends, and it just seems like those guys continue to keep their motors running all season long.
Yeah, they've been the depth that we had last year versus this year has continued to grow. So it's allowed us to keep those guys fresh and continue throughout the game for those guys to play at the same speed. So our defensive line is a group that excites me, and there's a ton of ability there.
Yeah.
Chris Walton being the guy that's the most decorated as far as awards go. He's a great leader in that room, leads by example, and practices the same way he plays, which is hard every play. So
that's got to stink for the offensive line.
Yeah, it's always.
He's like the Tyrese Banks we mentioned. Like, he runs the ball mad. Seems like Chris Walton plays. I mean, you got a little bit of mad and meanness in you to play defense, but it seems like he carries that kind of the way Tyrese does when he runs the football. That's kind of how Chris is when he's going after the football.
Absolutely, you're spot on.
And then those guys trying to make the job easier for your linebacking core. There's been quite a few guys in there doing a lot of big plays for you. Ethan Evers had a GMAC Player of the Week one week, and those linebacking core. Go ahead and mention them a little bit. Talk about them and the job they've done after the defensive line makes it a little easier for them to go run people down.
Yeah, we've had a lot of guys that have been able to step in and play in those roles this year. Yeah, Ethan Evers was Player of the Week. The 1 week, I think it was Thomas Moore. The Thomas Moore
he had
week.
pick six.
Yeah, he did. So he's done a great job, and he's been a great addition to our program. Aiden Fisher's been a guy that's really stepped up in his role.
Saying his name more and more each week. It sounds like.
Yeah,
feels like.
He's somebody that's really increased his dependability and been able to go out and play a lot of football for us. Nico Bowler's another guy that you've seen a lot of, and Jalen Coles. He's somebody that when he's been available, it's been outstanding.
He's a difference maker.
So he's somebody that that when he hasn't been available, we certainly miss. So he's a great leader in that room, and ultimately that room is full of guys that are hard workers and tough-nosed people.
You mentioned Jalen. That's one of the first things I do when I get in the press box for pregame. I look down there to see if Zero's got his street clothes on or if he's got his pads on. One of the first things I look for. And your secondary has been opportunistic. It's been going on for quite a few years this year, and it continues this year. Malik Baker, a lot of the headlines early with the coverage and he becoming a shutdown corner for you. Jacob Tueme making all the tackles. But, as a whole, Danny Mason's done a good job for you this year. Dennis Crawford, all kinds of guys. So talk about the secondary now.
Yeah, our secondary's been great. Malik is a corner that we feel like can go out and take half the field away. Jacob's the best leader on our football team. It's not just
wasn't he the only one that got every vote for captain?
Every person on the team voted him captain,
wonderful.
and there's no mistake there. You look at how many tackles he has on the year. He plays the game the way it's supposed to be played, and he leads every single day. He's a warrior. Isaiah Funchess-Foster's been a guy.
He's a guy that at the end of the game, I look at the tackle totals. I don't realize it. The next thing, he's like third or fourth down, like every single game, 6-7 tackles. He's like a silent assassin on that defensive side.
He's been very consistent.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned Danny Mason. He's had a season where he's been really impactful. And then you look at Dennis Crawford, and he's done a great job in his first year as a true starter. So that group works hard every single day, and they go out and they're a group that if you go watch them at practice, they're competing with one another and they're holding each other to the high standard. And that room, Coach Daniels, our defensive coordinator, coaches those guys, and you can see that they embody what we're looking for defensively.
You mentioned the quarterback maybe being the toughest position to play in sports, and I was listening to some former professional football players and baseball players talk about the hardest things to do in sports, and they came into a conclusion of hitting that major league fastball and being a corner. And yet, covering a wide receiver at this level and beyond, it's got to be one of the most difficult things. What an athlete you got to be to do that.
Yeah, you're moving backwards a lot when people are closing space and running as fast as they can forward. That's a tough thing, and you've got to be a great player who understands where you're supposed to fit in the defense, which is tough when you're talking about coverages. And again, people are running full speed, and they know where they're going, and you don't. There's a lot of communication that has to happen, and those 5 guys. If we mic'd them up, it'd be impressive for the fan to hear how much communication has to happen.
I bet.
Defensively.
Well, it's a 3-part football game, and the Dragons special teams will be out there as well. Joseph Weirs had the longest punt in the conference till the Finland kid had an 86-yarder last week, but Joseph Weirs has been great. I can only think of 1 or 2 kicks that he probably wished he had back this year. Been great at flipping field for you and creating bad field position for your opponents. And that's just like the field goals, it's a more than one-step process. The long snap to the punter, everybody blocking, and your special teams, on the punt side, has been doing a really good job for you this year. Yeah,
we work really hard at that, and Joseph's been excellent all year. He flips the field. Last week he only had 1 punt, I believe, and it was a great punt. He put it exactly where it needed to be. I think it was down at maybe the 15-yard line. So his ability, the stat that I think is really impressive is with how many attempts he has, how many times he's pinned teams inside the 20. So he's done a great job all year, and our specialists work incredibly hard, and they deserve to be talked about. And we talk about him a lot, which is good. So.
And, he's the one guy on the team where he hopes he doesn't play, and everybody's happy if he doesn't get a chance to play. So
yeah, I think he's got conflicted feelings there. He knows it's good if he's not out there a lot, but he does like to go out and do the thing he loves to do.
The thing I like about him is I've watched a lot of punters over the years at this level look fantastic in warm-ups and then not so good in the games. He's the guy what you see in warm-ups is usually what you get in the games, and that's something that's impressive. And then the field goal and extra point team as well, that's, again, a three-step process, and that's been, pretty consistent for you as well this year.
Yeah, it's been solid. We need to, last week was not our best week, so we need to take a step in the right direction with that unit, and it's all 11 people. You talk about protections where everything starts, and making sure that there's the time. Our snap, hold, kick process has been solid this year, so it's continuing to refine that, and that's something we work every single week. So it's not something that you just ignore.
Right,
so
for sure.
We'll be prepared to have a really good day there, and our field goal block team has been, they've been incredibly disruptive. So you look at the things that you want to do, and every single week there's takeaways on things that need to be improved upon, and this week one of them is making sure that our PAT field goal unit is shored up as it needs to be.
And then the other component is your coaching staff. So it's a long season, running into the rivalry week here coming up. Let's talk about the work your coaching staff has put in from the start of training camp to getting to us this point right here.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a minute and years all in one, and that's kind of how the season goes. We talk about each day. Sometimes the days are long and the weeks are fast. So it's flown by, to be honest with you.
And I've seen a couple with little young children out there, and that's hard on the family with the amount of time you guys got to put in. Your wife knows that. You know that. It's a special thing when you can have a family that can support you, knowing what you got to do to be a productive football team.
We try to make the office, in about 30 minutes here, you're going to hear a bunch of little kids running around up here. We laugh and call it daycare hour during lunch every day. Some of the wives will bring up some of the kids.
Got to keep the family part of it, right?
And then at practice, it's awesome to see at the end of practice. It's great for our players to see what a family unit can look like as well, and the wives and fiancés that support the coaches on our staff are outstanding. And getting to coach football, it's not a job, it's not a career, it's part of your life.
Right.
And
that's true.
Really the position groups become part of the family as well. And it's great for not only the players to get to see, hey, what does a healthy family unit look like, but also for the kids that are growing up to see, hey, it's pretty cool to watch what Dad gets to do every day.
I bet they think these guys in the pads are heroes, man. Big fellas.
It's a lot of fun, and that's the way we want it. We want families to feel involved, and there's so much time put into this that it can't happen any other way.
Right.
I don't want my coaches to be great football coaches and then neglect their duty as a father and as a husband. So we talk a lot about that in the off season, and we set up plans, and really our work hours and everything that we do is formulated on how can I be elite in all the things that I do.
It's amazing the life lessons you learn in a sport like football, how you carry them on into your professional life, your adult life, your married life. You know that as well as I do.
Yep.
Well, Coach, this week, Dragons at Finley, the final regular season game. Like you said, it feels like a minute, feels like a year at the same time, but thinking back, from the start of the season up there at Wayne State, that doesn't seem like it was as long ago as it was, but looking forward to the Dragons over at Finley this weekend. They'll have the video stream for you on Flow College, and go ahead and give us some of those adjectives, Coach, about what people are going to see from your team or your kids this Saturday against Finley.
Yeah, we're going to be fired up to play. The guys, we've had a great week of practice so far this week, and this game means a lot to both communities. Like I said, it means a lot to us. So we're going to be out there. We're going to be unified. They're going to get our very best, and we know that we're going to get their very best. It's going to be a passionate football game. It's going to be hard hitting. There's going to be a lot of speed out there, and the biggest thing is, come out and support the Dragons, and get your eyes on what our culture looks like out there. You know, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a sight to see, and we're really excited about the game.
And the weather should be pretty nice too. The weather warming up a little bit before the weekend, so for the fans out there, you know, they can.
Absolutely.
Good for them, for sure.
It's going to be a beautiful day.
Absolutely. So we'll be back next week to take a look back at the regular season, recap the Findlay game, and just see where things are going to land after that. But for this week, it's Dragon football at the Oilers, 12 noon kickoff over at Donnell Stadium in Findlay. If you'd like more information on TU football, go TiffinDragons.com. He's Brett Ekkens. I'm Russ Snyder, and this has been our weekly look at Tiffin University football.